Hey, what's up? It's Kevin Rogers. Welcome to CopyChief Radio, brought to you by CopyChief.com. See how that works? Let's get into it. Hey, everybody, welcome back to CopyChief Radio. You can hear the joy in my voice. That's because one of my favorite guests is back today. It's Laura Belgray. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Kevin. I am full of joy as well. Thank you.
It's so great talking to you. Every time we've been laughing it up, and I said, enough of this. Let's just hit record, because what I love about doing this with you is everything's on the table, right? There's nothing I could bring up where you're like, oh, he's not saying that on an actual podcast, is he?
No, there's not much that you could. I am sadly like the world's biggest oversharer. So
that's great. So we were just talking about, this is pretty exciting. You are a featured speaker at TNC, Traffic and Conversion.
Yeah.
Which is in February. Everybody knows about it and everybody goes. I want to say, what are they expecting? 9,000 people this year? Something crazy?
I was hoping not to know that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's like 300-400. I think that's.
Yeah, right. That's manageable. Would you say like 75 people? That would be nice. Yeah, it's been referred to after I signed on as the Super Bowl of marketing conferences, which I have no real interest in football and already had the impression that it would be a sausage fest. So that only reinforces.
Yeah. I don't know. What would the female equivalent, like what would be something that big where you would feel comfortable hearing it?
There's nothing. I don't think females like anything that big.
Right. They like intimacy, right? So they don't want to.
Exactly. They want to share. They want to, maybe the coffee bowl. All together, thousands of us, but sitting facing each other one-on-one.
Yeah, but it's exciting. This is a coveted gig. And, I remember seeing something, and I'm sensitive to this because I now have an event which you spoke at and were brilliant. I've said that many times behind your back, so nobody can accuse me of pandering.
Thank you. Unsolicited. I'm glad.
You really were as great as I knew you would be. But you spoke at CopyChief Live, and this is a big deal. You speak at a lot of events, but I saw this thing on Facebook where somebody, and this seems to happen every time you announce the lineup of a thing. Some overzealous female do-gooder will immediately go, wow, what a sausage fest. Where are the women at?
Where are the women?
But you know what? And I always look at that and I go, yeah, it's true. Look at that sausage fest.
Yeah.
And so what was interesting was they shot back, and I thought that was cool that they responded. And some people came to their rescue right away. But some of the organizers were like, look, we have an open application process. Anybody can apply. And of course, we want to have more women, but it has to be based on, credentials and all these things. So what's your take at being a female who's been invited? First of all, did you apply or did they invite you? How did that go down?
It was a combo. I won't lie. Someone said, oh, hey, you want to do more speaking, right? And I said, yeah, I do. And that person said, TNC really needs women. So I was semi-recruited. They were very solicitous, asking me to apply. Like, of course, it's just a formality. You're a superstar and we already know we want you, blah, 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 which is bait I will gladly take, whether it was true or not.
Flatter me and show me where to sign. Yeah.
100%. And make me feel welcome. So, yeah, for sure, it's important. And I think that event organizers do have to be aggressive in finding people. And from my own experience, making them feel welcome, not intimidated, not like, well, we'll see if we're qualified. Maybe you do have to be, I wouldn't say more, I don't think you have to relax your standards, but maybe dig a little deeper to find, do the homework, go and ferret out the people who are talented and ask them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And again, much smaller event in lineup, but I did that very thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't my goal to balance the scale. I was very proud to feature as many women on the stage as men.
Yeah.
Again, a much easier thing to do when you've only got, 8 speakers. But, look, I guess this is the necessary thing though, right, Laura? Like all this change and evolution has to be pushed and has to be accepted. And as some people, you always feel that old guard thing. I love when people want to make some sort of indignant stand against something as brazen as a razor ad. And it starts like this, when this is a white male. First of all, no one respects women more than me, right? I mean,
I have a daughter and I have a mother.
Right.
I cheat on my wife, but that's private.
I'm part French, so that doesn't count.
Right. We're open.
And then, it's this long thing of all that. And then you're like, okay, here we go, right? But, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, I mean, I'm a white guy. What do I know about how this works best or how it feels like? But, does it feel like we're actually making progress in this? Or is this a big, just clunky, crazy thing?
It's hard to say. I think that we have to try really hard to make progress. And I understand the impulse to be like, whether it's a speaker lineup or something in language that needs to change. Yeah. The impulse to be like, oh, come on, stop being so sensitive, or like, stop whining, or stop, like, give me a break. Everyone's too sensitive. On the other hand, especially with things like, with all of it, but I'm thinking about language right now. When people are like, oh, give me a break. You mean you're not allowed to say like, long time no see anymore? What's next? Because that's, right. That's the latest thing. Like, no, you can't say long time no see. And you're kind of like, but I've been saying that all my life. I think with things like that, you have to look at it as like, well, what language do I cringe at? Like when my grandpa says it, right. That used to be totally okay. Right. Like, oh, grandpa, you can't call someone a Chinaman. and grandpa's like, give me a break. Everyone's too sensitive. I've been saying it all my life. I don't mean anything by it. So like, what language will we one day look at and be like, oh my God, I can't believe we said that,
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at it that way and be willing to listen to people who are calling it out.
Yeah, that's 100%. I got to go back to my brain's hung up on something. Is long time no see a real thing, or is that a random?
No, that's a real thing.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out why that could be offensive, but
I think that is a Native American ism or something making fun of Native American, like pidgin English, way back when, probably from cowboy days, where it would be like saying "me want wampum" or something. I don't know.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I got to admit, I mean, this is happening in real time to me right now. Right. Yeah. And these are the thoughts that I think that we have, and we could go down this rabbit hole, but
I'll say one more of them before we switch topics. This is a really tough one, but people have been calling out the expression, you guys.
Right.
And that comes out of my mouth like 10 times a day, even when I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
Like, you guys. And then I'm like, oh no. So I've been making a conscious effort to change that, because now that some people are sensitive to it, everyone's going to be sensitive to it. And it's going to seem anachronistic and like you're stuck in your ways and out of it if you don't change it. So that's now I'm making an effort to. I slip up constantly, but I'm trying to change it to like, hey, everyone, or hey, y'alls, or something. I don't know.
You gotta, some sassy new term.
Yeah.
But but that one makes perfect sense to me. Like, and because every time I do it, it crosses my mind too, right? And I always have this little pause where I go, because if I'm addressing sometimes even all women, 2 women in a base camp thread who are on my team, right? Or a guy and a girl. And I'm like, everybody knows what guys is. And then I go, but if that was just a little irksome to the woman, I get it. And she's probably not going to mention that. So what is the better term? And maybe I've been too lazy to sit and think, but it's just a nice little monosyllabic way to grab everybody, but you're right.
I know it's sad. There is no other term for guy. Like, there's nothing for a mixed group, and there's nothing for women that's the equivalent either. No one's going to say like, hey, gals.
Right. It just doesn't work as well. Yeah.
From the 40s. Yeah.
That's like when people, and I have no vision of what God looks like. But when, like, say, like pop songs refer to God as a woman, it feels very, very pandering to me, right?
Yeah.
Does that feel forced? You know what I mean? Unless the song is about that. But it's like, I saw God and she, and I'm like, oh, stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not, that doesn't, hope God is a woman, right? I really do. But it just feels, I don't know, this whole thing is like a landmine. It's so tricky to get through. And I guess the thing that we're all allowed to make stupid mistakes and the humanness can shine through ultimately, right? Like, I hope I just read a thing somewhat related. Did you see the Patton Oswalt Twitter war turnaround thing? So he's getting attacked by this. He makes fun of a Trump tweet, and a Trump supporter starts telling him really like harsh stuff, like social trolling. I can't remember, but something about you're so short. Did somebody cut you in half? And kind of just nasty, mean stuff. Nothing even that funny, right?
Right.
And so Patton gets into it with the guy and then starts scrolling through his Twitter feed and sees a recent GoFundMe because the guy is a Vietnam veteran and has got some serious health problems. So Patton just has a very real moment and goes, says on Twitter, hey, this guy attacked me and I joked back. And then I saw this and I feel bad. And why don't everybody consider going to donate to this guy? So 10 grand happens in like a couple hours, right? And this guy is overwhelmed. And it was just a beautiful little moment of, oh, wow, the humanness actually broke through all the BS and the hiding behind our keyboards and all that stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that all comes from making a special effort to look at it from the other person's point of view, which is what he did, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like, what's really up with this guy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you wonder about people. And by the way, you sort of walked into a weird spider web, didn't you? Not too long ago. Was it your Forbes piece or what was it?
Oh, yeah. It was the money piece.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was happening, but I had this piece come out in Money a few months ago. It was in the fall, I guess. And the title was, I think it was like, I earn $6,000 a day to write inspirational quotes on Instagram. Right. Here's how I perfected this dream job. Now, I had suggested I earn up to $6,000 a day because, first of all, I don't do it every day and I don't do it all day. It was really based on my hourly rate. And I can earn $6,000 a day, but I don't choose to. And I don't. So it was a bit of an exaggeration, right? Yeah. Truthful yet exaggerating. Right. And so I felt a little uncomfortable about that. But the article was a hit and people were really inspired by it and it went well and it got a lot of shares. I got a lot of shares by asking people to share it. And that was great. And then a couple months later, or a month later or so, I got an email from a reporter at Vox.com. saying, hey, your recent article in Money has gone semi-viral and people are talking about it. Can I interview you about it? And I was like, what do you mean semi-viral? And she's like, oh, there are all these funny tweets on Twitter. And then I remembered I'd had a Google alert and I looked at it and it was just in some list of things to check out this week. One was excellent hate read from Laura Belgray. Wow. And I was like, hate read? And I think it quoted some of the tweets. So I looked at the tweets and they were like, I would charge half that to write silly pablum all day long. And someone else was like, gotta go now, flinging myself into the sun. So it was mostly from journalists who get paid crap and are what? Probably, I would say, way more talented and practiced writers than I am. I couldn't do what they do. Yeah. I don't know if they could do what I do, but I think that they probably could if they tried. Yeah. So I understood where they were coming from, and I didn't take real offense at it, except for the ones that insulted my client who agreed to be used as an example. But I could see where they were coming from. I probably would have written one of those hate tweets myself had I been a journalist who found that article.
Yeah. And so what did that do to you? Like, how did you process that? And I know you wrote about it because that puts us in a weird position. It's like part of you goes, oh, let's just let this pass. We're not going to talk about, we're not going to spot like this. And another part goes, all right, I have to be irreverent about this because that's the best defense. Or did you genuinely want to defend yourself?
Well, I wanted to set the record straight about the title that it was. I just felt Well, one, uncomfortable that there was an exaggeration or that it might be taken as one. And two, nervous about putting out there how much money I make because people were doing calculations and someone was tweeting to me like, so that means you make 2 million point something a year. And I was like, I didn't say I do it all day, every day. I take clients 1 day a week and not even the whole day. And I'm tired. And
Right. I'm
like,
not a
don't know
factory.
that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not rich. And I was nervous about, like, when you put a number out there, you get nervous about people thinking you've got tons of money, like deep pockets, and finding a way to sue you. I'm like, I hope nobody like goes and trips in front of the. We're not responsible for the sidewalk outside our window, are we?
Right.
I didn't want someone making those calculations, and now I could see why people I know, entrepreneurs who make a ton of money, like friends of mine, don't breathe a word about how well their course sold or anything like that. I suddenly felt really self-conscious and vulnerable, not in that bullshit, like my most vulnerable post ever way, but like truly liable. So yeah, I felt the need to set the record straight. And I talked to this reporter on the phone and she put out a really nice piece, really fairly accurate to what I said, and made me seem like I had a good sense of humor about it all. And which I think I did. I tried to.
Yeah.
And I think it cleared the record. And I felt good that I had another chance to. I mean, I wrote the piece. So it wasn't like there was some bullshit, reported about me. But it just the talk that it generated made me a little uncomfortable. It was worth it. I feel like having buzz of any sort is great for you, especially as a copywriter, a service provider. It is helpful to have any kind of aura of fame, whether it's part negative, part positive, all positive, if all negative is tough. I wouldn't want that.
Right.
But it was good. It creates a ripple effect and people see it and say, even if they don't really read it, they'll be like, oh, you were in money. You're killing it.
Right. Sometimes people just see the surface of stuff. That's all they need. They just check that box, right?
Yeah.
Oh, great. She's getting published in money. And I was going to say, it's making me think is like, if they now, they're compelled to go look at you and look you up, find Talking Shrimp, your game is tight on the website, right? So that would be bad if you had like some really wonky little website, but they could come and read a lot of really intelligent, funny articles by you, see your services, see your prices for your services, which is actually one of the things I wanted to touch on with you. Because I've mentioned to you, during CopyChief Live, you were nice enough to stay for day 3, the freelancing day, and we did a panel and we talked about pricing. And I brought your page up on the screen, and we looked at your pricing and how you do it. And since then, several people have used the term to me, I want to be Laura. I just want to be Laura, because you got one of those things where you go, oh man, can it be that easy? Because you just name your price. There's no feeling like there's another option. There's no hedging. There's no selling from your heels, right? Yeah. It's like, these are the prices and here's why it's worth it. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like how you sort of, because I noticed you just raised them too. As I think you mentioned that day you were about to.
Yep.
And so to give everybody some context, I know we'll have links in the show notes so you can go see Laura's pages and her rate page, but just going to read a few of them and give me some context around how you came up with these. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
All right, great. So, because as everybody knows, pricing is just one of the hardest things freelancers face. So rates and packages, how's it work when you book with me? Usually we'll spend the time working on your copy together. Sometimes we'll chat for a bit and I'll spend the rest jamming on my own. Either way, you'll end up with better copy that does the number one thing it needs to do, hit the emotional mark, and get the right people to buy. The options are kitty cone, $7.50. This is a dip in your toe. And then there's a is this for me button on each one, which is brilliant, which gives it more context. There is the power hour for $1,450. Let's make your copy stand out, connect emotionally, sound like you, flow better, sell better. Special rate, 3 of those for $4,050. Own Me for a Day. I love this, AKA the Pretty Woman Special. 10 grand for a full day of Laura Belgray, all yours to work on your copy. That is only for returning clients. And if all this feels too much, can't commit all those shekels to you yet, but want amazing copy, $99 gets you a 60-minute makeovers copywriting mini course.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me some context and how you sort of developed these different prices.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been a feel it out as I go along process. I mean, I started out at when I started taking private clients at probably, I think it was $250 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the demand gets high enough where people can't find a spot and want me during off hours where I don't want to give those hours away, I raised the price. So most recently, I created an emergency power hour price. And that is like when you can't find a spot and you want to work with me right away, cost be damned.
Smart.
And that was previously that was $14.50. My rate before was $9.50 an hour in its last incarnation. And honestly, I found that I got so much joy when someone booked for $14.50 that I was like, okay, I want that to be my regular rate. And the demand supported it. And so did my, one thing that created that demand was having limited availability. So I've been coming up with other ways to bring in income so that I'm not relying on client work all week long, that's just a piece of the pie. And that means that I can limit it to one day a week and feel really good about the clients that I have on that day rather than feeling like, oh no, I've got clients on my calendar again. Because I love white space on my calendar. It is my favorite thing. So like I like to think of it this way. I have an acronym, C.R.E.D, right? And like a basis for creating your pricing or for supporting raising your rates. And so C would be for cachet. Do you have, like, is there someone really fancy pants, like a online celebrity or a celebrity or a big name brand that you've worked for that you can boast about? Someone whose testimonial can be right on your page where people are like, oh, you worked with them? Great. That cachet is nice. Or have you done big speaking gigs? Are you a big deal in that sense? So that's cachet. R is rareness. I think that would be kind of along the lines with your bat signal. Do you have some special quality or special skill that you bring to the table that no one else around you does, or not many people do? So that when someone says to a friend, like someone who knows you, do you know of a copywriter who can do this? They'll say, oh yeah, sure. The only person I can think of who does that is Kevin. You got to see him. Right. And then E is for excellence, like plain old excellence. Do you get great results? Are people happy with what you deliver? And, do you have results to show off, or do you have great copy that speaks for itself? And then D is good old demand. And that one, I mean, pretty much supports any price hike. You might have to feel it out and you might be wrong. You might be like, I'm going to triple my prices, and it might be crickets.
Yeah, right.
Because nobody's paying that.
Right.
But generally, if enough people want you, and you have fewer hours than people want, or fewer slots for projects, then you are allowed to raise your prices.
Yeah. And in fact, it kind of forced to. It's that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Love that cred. Yeah, that was exactly when I was freelancing. It was a little different in regards to we would do big projects. So I had a writing partner and we would do full launch packages, right? So it was typically, an 8-week project. That would be our main project. And we had maybe a couple of retainer clients. And that was what we started out at 10 grand for a whole launch package. And then we had this huge hit at that price. And it was like, whoosh, the flood came in. And I think I doubled it immediately.
Yeah, good.
Because it was just like, wow, I'd never had that kind of attention, and it was no problem getting that, right? So it stayed that way. So it was 34. We ended up at the last 2 years, $50K a package. And the way we got up there was exactly what you said. It was like, I wouldn't have had the audacity to go from 10 to even 30, 40, 50. But incrementally, when people are like, you're on the phone with them, everything's a green light except the time frame. And they're going, I can't wait till April, man. Sorry. And then you got to recommend somebody else. What a bummer. And then you go, all right, time to raise the price, because I can only be booked out like 2 months ahead if I want to work with the best qualified prospects.
Exactly. And it does some people a favor, because There's just like you're not available. Oh, but you're too much for me anyway. Good, and then it can go on to someone else, and maybe they're not the right fit. I
Right.
think, and then other people love the price increase, not because everybody loves to pay more, but they love the perceived value.
Sure.
And like, okay, I'm hiring the very best. It's something to brag about to themselves,
It's
or
VIP.
possibly
Yeah, it's kind of like the VIP.
VIP.
Yeah, you've been grandfathered into the VIP package, right? It's like
Yes.
you're not even getting less. You're paying as much as everybody, but you probably have first priority on the booking,
Right. It's like the wait list for a Birkin bag,
Right. Yeah, I'll pretend I know what that means. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, it's Kev here. And if you like this podcast, then you are going to love the CopyChief app. Total, custom, easy to use, smooth phone app where you can listen to every podcast episode, plus get all the show notes, and dig it. You can listen right inside the app, even when your phone is in the locked position. Super cool. Plus, right there in the same app, you get access to all the great free CopyChief content to help you write better, higher converting copy. Plus, members can access the private form area right from the mobile app. It's available for you for free right now wherever you get your apps. Apple, Android, go get it. Download the CopyChief app today because nobody writes alone. So I want to give a little context to what happens in these. So a power hour, I book one of those and I get to, what's the process of me cluing you in as to what I want done?
Okay, so if you book one, you'd be given a Google Doc, which is my trademark Talking Shrimp Getting Started doc. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you to fill it out. It's mostly, I don't necessarily get to read the whole thing because we just hit the ground running and I haven't even looked at it yet. But a great deal of it is for your own clarity. So it asks all kinds of questions about like, what do you do? What do you say that you do? What's your longer answer to what do you do? And then what's the answer if you don't give a shit about what somebody thinks? And like, what's the real answer? It might be like, for me, it might be like, well, people are really crap at writing and they have no idea what they're doing and they're toast without me. That might be the non-bullshit answer.
Right.
And all kinds of questions about who they serve and do you have any great testimonials that you love and what's something that people ask you over and over again that you have a ready answer for and wish they would stop asking. That's probably good, something great for either a course or a product or an opt-in. So all kinds of questions that help people understand for themselves who they're serving and what they want and what they want to say about what they do. So you would fill that out. And then we would get on the phone. You would call me or we would do it on Skype or possibly I might switch over to Zoom completely. Every one of those mediums craps out.
Yeah, at some point, right. Who's next?
Right.
Zippy.
Exactly.
Thank you. Everybody's using Zippy now.
We might switch over to Zippy. So some sort of two-way communication device where we are also both in the Google Doc that you filled out. Mm-hmm. And I'll say like, okay, give me the lay of the land. Like I have your answers in front of me, but give me the quick answer of like what you want to do today and how things are going in your business and what you want to accomplish. I also have a question like, what copy do you want to work on? What don't you like about your current copy, et cetera. So I'll have them basically debrief me on that stuff. And this all happens pretty quickly. And then we dive right in to either rewriting what they have or writing something from scratch or brainstorming. So we might be working on a tagline and then I'll come up with a whole bunch of ideas on the spot. Often the person will talk to me and I have the kind of clients who just ramble on and on, but it doesn't bother me while they're talking to me. This is going to sound totally woo-woo, but I sort of intuitively start writing copy based on little things that I sort of catch. It might be subliminal because I have no way of absorbing everything they're saying while I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll have to say, okay, I'm sorry. Whatever you just told me, I was totally in my head. I was working on this line below that you can see I just wrote. And so we will create copy in that hour, usually together, usually based on things that they say to me. And often they will say something that is gold that they would never think to actually turn into copy. And it will just go down on the page and they'll be like, oh my God, that's great. And I'll say, well, you just said it. And it's brilliant. I agree. And so we'll create copy together. Sometimes it's a whole homepage. Sometimes it's a little piece of a sales page that we've rewritten because sales pages are long, unwieldy things. Sometimes it's a headline or a couple of tagline options, but we create copy together in that Google Doc where they can see me typing.
Oh, that's really cool. That's great. And so it's up to them how much, it's funny you said, I'm just thinking about how much ever that is a minute. And then just kind of, and this, I had to pick up my daughter from church. And then, because I do, everybody signs up, to CopyChief, happily get on the phone with them for 20 minutes. And I make it very clear, hey, we got exactly 20 minutes. Right. And let me think. What's best to talk about here? I'm just like, man, watching the clock tick by. But it is amazing, though. I'm always happy for somebody to give me the backstory if they feel it's important, because, like you said, you start to connect the dots in your mind, right? And I'm not writing copy with them, but I start to see in 3 to 5 minutes at the end of the call. It's amazing what we can accomplish together by having that conversation. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, so I mean, people can't see, and I'm sure it's true of you. It's definitely true of me. Cannot see their own value or brilliance or what they're about. Right. Until it's reflected through someone else's eyes.
Right, and that's like you said. That's why I love this C.R.E.D, because that's the rareness, part of the rareness. But the one thing you don't have in here is experience. That could be another one, maybe.
C.R.E.D. Let's make it C.R.E.D.
Yeah.
I thought it. Yeah. C.R.E.D.
But the Scott Stapp C.R.E.D. That's hilarious. Yeah. So, but that is what you say about the excellence. You can't get the excellence without the experience, right? Yeah. And that is that intangible or that X factor that I just wrote a thing today. It's fresh in my head about. I'm annoyed with lately. It seems like everybody wants to say this freelancing fantasy of making $10,000 a month, even if you've never had a client. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And few things get me angry, but that gets me angry because I start to see the result of that fake fantasy, and it's attracting people to freelancing who want to show me that magic trick where I say this combination of words to people and they pay me that money. And then I don't even worry about how to deliver for them. Right.
Right.
And so anyway, that's a whole, but
no, it's true. It's like, even if you're a newborn, you can, I mean,
right. No, yeah. In any language, even if you can't type or speak,
Right.
And it's frustrating. As I said in the email, it's become the freelance copywriting equivalent of one weird trick to losing belly fat.
Right. And that weird trick is like, don't eat corn. It's not going to work. I'm hitting the Haagen-Dazs. I've cut out corn, but I'm eating the Haagen-Dazs. Why is my stomach fat?
Oh, God. It's funny that I was reading about this carnivore diet. That's the trending thing now. And the guy, I guess, who invented it or made it popular eats 4 pounds of meat a day.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's not constipated at all. And he's definitely not going to keel over from a heart attack tomorrow.
Apparently he's, qualified and has his vitals checked all the time. His blood sugar is like 127, but it's just, man, I guess that all comes down to wanting to believe the fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. Why can't it just be, oh, how about this? Take in less calories than you burn.
Right.
And you have a balanced diet, get some vegetables, maybe some nutrients in there would be good. But, the candy cane diet is probably not real.
Right. The candy cane diet will work because how many candy canes can you really eat? It'll work for like a month. You will be so sick of it. You won't want to see another candy cane again in your life. So you'll have nothing to eat. And that works. Yeah. Eating nothing really works.
Yeah. You just have to stick to it.
Right. Yeah. You just have to stick to it for life.
Eat only candy canes. Oh, God.
You will die thin. But it's true. Everyone wants a little magic. And it is tough. It's a tough balance to strike in anything because you want to promise, you want to offer some feeling of magic. And you don't want to be the one person who doesn't. But the truth is, there is not a shortcut. Yeah, the only in anything, the only shortcut is skipping right to the thing that works.
Yeah, right.
And not avoiding it. I mean, I had plenty of that in my business where everyone's like, just do this. It really works. I'm like, no, that's for other people. Yeah. And then finally did. I'm like, oh man, okay, you're right. I am saying, why didn't I do this earlier?
Right. That's true. But sometimes you need a minute to grow into the comfort of doing those things, right?
Yes.
I used to beat myself up for what you just said, thinking, oh man, everybody else has it figured out. And I'm overthinking this, right? Just do the thing. But then I realized at some point, you know what? And this sounds so cliche, but I'm perfectly okay with moving slow because I'm in this for the long haul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I am not building this to exit.
Right.
This is my business. I'd love my daughter to take over this business someday. Right. Like, I love what I do. Maybe who knows what tomorrow will bring. But that's why when I coach freelancers, I say, this is based on your current and future reality. It's like, I might be able to see down the road 2 years for you or have a pretty good idea. Mm-hmm. There's no way you can, and I may be completely wrong. Let's discover along the way what feels good for you. It may not even be copywriting. That'll be a shock to you, but maybe you're just in love with the moniker. And there may be a part of this gig that becomes your special thing, right? That's going to make you way happier, bring in way more money. That's the thing you'll be on stage talking about, not sitting typing all day like you're fantasizing about now. You just never know what it looks like. And the beautiful thing about this industry we're in is especially today, we get to customize it as long as we're being smart and productive, right? And inventive.
Yes. Yeah. And that is so valuable to have somebody you trust, like a mentor, telling you, here's what you should be doing right now. And don't worry about later. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have your endpoint figured out. There are going to be so many stages to your business, especially if you're a copywriter. Mm-hmm. You don't know if you're going to want to do copywriting as a service forever. Like right now, you might just want more clients. And that's great. But you don't have to worry about like how you're going to sell your business or how you're going to scale it to, 100x right now. If what you're like right now, focus on copywriting and don't worry if that's what you want to do forever.
Right. The only person I can't help is the person when I get on the phone and say, how can I help? And they go, I want to make $100,000 a month writing copy.
Right.
And I just go, man, I hear them out. And then I tell them, I'm like, I hate your motivation and here's why. I'll say, I like your enthusiasm, but I hate your plan and here's why. And then I say, I tell them, I said, look, the only way you could get to 100,000 a month is on reputation. The excellence, right?
Yeah.
And by focusing so much on the money up front, that's going to force you to either work yourself to death and make your family hate you, or make you make some really irrational decisions that are going to ruin your reputation. And then you'll have that chance. So freelancing is, you can build a business beyond your dreams, but you've got to take it incrementally. Like we're saying, there's no other way around it. You cannot speed past the cones.
You're good. I'm jealous of the people who are in your group. I think they are very lucky.
You're nice. Thank you. Well,
no, truly. You give good advice.
I want to live in your building. I want to, can you imagine if I could just maybe, I don't know, Thursdays at 10 a.m. I just came by for coffee.
That would be so great.
And you were nice enough to mention, hey, I saw that email you sent out yesterday. You know what would have been really funny? And then you told me how to make it funny. Like, that would be awesome.
It would be even nicer if I saw it ahead of time and could make it funnier before you send it out.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I hate when I get the postmortem from readers.
Yeah, right.
You should have said this, or you neglect to mention it, or there's a typo, and just wanted to call to your attention that there's a typo.
Oh, I love those.
I'm like, oh, well, I will unsend the whole email and correct that. Thank you.
Oh man. And I love that is all you got out of it. Right. So somebody wrote me, and I really felt great about the email. It felt something. And the guy, he wrote, so we're using Overwhelm as a noun now. And I said, I said, is that all you got from that email? And I think he didn't expect to hear it back. He's like, oh no, actually like this other part too. And that was kind of cool. And I said, and by the way, yes, we are. We are using it as a noun now.
Yes, we are. Well, language is fluid. Yeah. A lot of people don't really think there's a person reading on the other side.
Yeah.
They have no idea that there's someone like us. I have to read. I open every one of the replies that come in from one of my emails. I probably shouldn't. I should probably have my VA do that, but I have to. My ego demands it.
Yes, 100%. Well, you know what? I think it's actually, yeah, because otherwise you're writing into a void. I just went through this with my, this sounds so whatever, but my team, where it's amazing how when your business grows and more people get involved, the simplest thing, like seeing replies to your emails, takes a meeting, a meeting to figure out how, because the return address is actually mine and that's confusing and whatever, right? Anyway, we figure out how I can find, and I said to them, I said, you have to understand something. Because they basically wanted to say to me, how about you don't worry about it? Like, we got it covered. I'm like, I'm a performer. Like, there's no way I can know if I'm doing good or not. And I don't just need love letters. I need hate mail too. I need to hear it all, right?
Yeah, I want the claps and then I want the fury.
Yeah.
I want the vitriol. I have to, I want to get riled up about it.
Yeah, that's your next best email, right? It's like,
right, exactly. I think that I would say like the rest of the business is like what, Hollywood is to actors, and then email is the stage. You know how actors like movie stars have to do theater once in a while.
Right.
To get in front of that audience and get the feel, get the reactions. I think that's what email is for when you have a business going.
Oh man, I love that. Okay, Laura, I want to respect your time. I know we covered so much. It just felt like we were sitting in our building.
I forgot we were in our shared building.
Yeah,
where we
in
have
our shared building,
together.
we have a coffee.
It's like a copywriter's Melrose Place, which I always
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, right. We'll meet by the pool. Yeah.
I want to mention, this is so cool. It's happening in June 28th through 30th. You are holding a copywriting or just a writing workshop in Florence, Italy. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I've done this workshop 3 years in a row, but in a town called Riomaggiore, which is on the Cinque Terre. It's like the seaside of Italy.
Oh, yes.
Which was magical. I have a partner, Bianca. She's an Italian touring company called Italian Fix. And she was a client to start with. We were working on a sales page for the first workshop she was going to host with someone else, like a personal branding workshop, which really meant like finding like what to put on your Instagram page.
Right.
But like in a great location. So we did the sales page together. And when we were doing that, she said, would you ever want to do a workshop like this, but for writing? And I was like, yeah, well, I'd love to do a workshop, but I don't want to like find the place and put it all together. She's like, no. I'm saying I'll do that. Wow. I will host it. And you bring the people and you show up and teach. And I was like, oh my God, yes. So we put together the first one in 2016 and did it 2017, 2018. And it's been amazing. People get so much out of it, as do I. It's an incredible experience. And this year we're doing it in Florence instead, just to change things up and do it somewhere that's easier to get to.
Right.
And I'm just so excited about it. We opened applications today. I know they're already rolling in, and it's a great thing. It's a lot of copywriters come, but also non-copywriters, and some people have businesses. Some just want to work on a writing project or feel good writing or write more. So it's a whole mix of that. It's like creative writing, copywriting, the whole Megillah.
So if you got maybe a book in mind, you're not going to sit and write your book, but you'll help get a lot of clarity around maybe what you should have in that book or how to position the book, things like that.
Or how to write the book better, like how to make the writing pop, how to put in imagery and concrete details that make it actually a joy to read.
Right. No, it's fantastic. Oh, man, sounds great. Florence, I got to go to Florence last summer with the fam, and what an amazing place. There's something about, especially if you're in the U.S., obviously, if you're hearing this and you're in Europe, this is ideal. But if you're in the U.S. and you're going, oh man, I couldn't, I don't know if I could get to it. Why not? It's the same thing as any other travel, really. It's not that big a deal, right? You get on a bigger plane and you sit there for a couple more hours. You sleep, you watch a couple movies, and then you're in this magical place. And you're far away from home, and it allows you to discover sort of this other part of yourself, which is exactly what you want to do when it's time to sit down and really get some clarity around how to write.
Yeah. And I think you get to say to yourself, like, I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my business. I'm doing this to feel better, feel more excited and alive in what I do professionally or creatively, both.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. So much of it is that message we send to ourselves when we decide to invest in ourselves. And it's like, it's a silent conversation where our cells go, damn, really? Okay. Man, we believe in us, don't you? All right. Well, I'll step up.
It's exactly. I think you do have to send that message to yourself now and then. And a lot of people like to send that message to their followers as well, or just to their friends, to the public, to say, this is something I do for myself, or this is something I do for my business. Right. And it's like to inspire other people to do the same thing. And I think that that's very effective, even if it is just for your gram. People see it being an example and they want to do something for themselves too. I think it's a great thing to do.
Awesome. Well, that's one of the many cool things you got going on. If you're not on the list, the email subscriber list at talkingshrimp.com, I don't know what to do with you, because I can tell you, I wouldn't say this about many email lists. You're missing out. Said it, I'll say it forever. It's my favorite moment of the day when a Laura Belgray email pops into my box. I get a little, like a little gift arrives. It's almost like getting a Birchbox, arriving, because I save it, I put it away. I go, oh, when am I going to, if I'm busy, I don't even touch it. I'm like, I got to make time, read this through and soak it up. And I'm telling you, it's like a little journey every time, like your favorite show just released a new episode. That's what it's like to be on Laura's list. And that is rare territory. So
I'm so glad this is recorded. Thank you.
I couldn't be more sincere. Laura, this is always so fun. I really appreciate you making time. Thanks for giving us more context on the pricing. I'm sure that's going to inspire a lot of people. And good luck in Italy. Good luck at TNC. I can't wait to hear how that goes. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bye. CopyChief Radio. CopyChief Radio.